example, we are going to look at a few examples of how to work with Booleans. So Booleans are these variables that can either be true or false. And so let's create a few variables. So we'll create a few Boolean variables. And it is helpful when you're working with Booleans to name them things like is whatever. So I'm going to do 3. I'm going to say is hot. And this is going to be set equal to true. Note the capital T in true. And then I'm going to set another one is raining. And that will also be set to a default value of true. And then is cold. And that is going to be set to a default value of false. And then I am going to create some if statements. And we are going to check the, whether our variables are true or false. And then print out some information based upon that. So check variables or true or false and print messages accordingly. So in my first if statement, I am going to say if is hot, and then I am going to say double equals true and is raining double equals true and is cold double equals true, and then the colon. And then I am going to print because it cannot be hot and cold at the same time. And so clearly there is a problem here. So that would be the first thing that I would check. Now, this is perfectly valid syntax, but this is not syntax that you will normally see because developers do not like to use unnecessary code. And if we exclude the double equals true and just say is hot, that is a shortcut for the same test. And so we can make our code a little bit shorter. It may not be, from a logical perspective, may not be that clear. So if it helps you to write out the double equals true, go ahead and do that. But you'll get to a point eventually where you'll do the shorthand for, and if you don't see anything else other than the variable name, you can assume it's a Boolean and you're checking to see if it's true. So we'll do that, and then we'll do an elif here. And we will check to see if our variables, if it's hot and is raining. And then in that case, we will print it must be humid. Hot and raining, not my favorite combo. Let's do another one, another elif. This one is just going to be if it's hot. So that would be if raining. We're not checking it in this particular example. It's just hot. Or print here. Time to go swimming. And then we can do another elif, and we can say is cold and is raining. And for that one, we will print better stay warm inside. And we can also do or statements. We don't have to only do and. So let's say that we wanted to take our first if statement there, and we wanted to say, we'll do elif, and then I'm just copying what I had there. So let's say it's hot and raining, and we'll add some parentheses here to make it really clear what our logic is. And instead of having all ands, we're going to have the is hot and is raining, or is cold and is raining. And in this case, then only one or the other of these has to be true, and we'll say something like enjoy the rain. And in this particular example, I could just say is raining. It's kind of unnecessary to have the is hot and is raining, or is cold and is raining. But you get the idea of how the logic works. Let's do one more else statement. This will be our catch-all. So we'll just say print time to get your coat, because the assumption here would be that the weather is cold. So let's run this and see what we get as far as output. Yeah. So the output we're getting right now is it must be humid, because if we check our conditions, that means that is hot is true and is raining is true. And as we go in and change our values, then we'll get different outputs. So I'd encourage you to write out the code for this and then experiment with those different values. I'll save you the time in this particular example and won't run through all those, but hopefully you can get the idea of how that Boolean, that true false logic works. So thanks for watching.